The woman everyone called a monster. The courtroom was completely silent. More than 200 people filled every seat. Journalists waited with cameras. Families whispered to one another. Everyone had come for one reason, to watch the trial of Emma Carter, the woman the entire country believed had stolen $15 million from the Carter Foundation, a charity that helped sick children for 2 years. Television called her a thief. Newspapers called her heartless. Social media called her a monster. No one wanted to hear her side. As 2 police officers escorted Emma into the courtroom, people began shaking their heads. Some looked at her with hatred. Others smiled, believing justice was finally coming. Emma never looked up. She simply held one small wooden box tightly against her chest. No one knew what was inside. The judge entered. All rise. Everyone stood. Judge William Brooks looked across the courtroom. He had handled hundreds of criminal cases. But something about this woman felt different. She didn't look angry. She didn't look afraid. She looked broken. State versus Emma Carter. The prosecution may begin. Prosecutor stood confidently. Ladies and gentlemen, this case is simple. This woman stole $15 million from dying children. Gasps filled the courtroom. The prosecutor continued. She betrayed the trust of thousands of families. Today, she will finally pay for what she has done. Everyone looked at Emma. She remained silent. Then the judge asked quietly, "Ms. Carter, how do you plead?" The entire courtroom held its breath. Emma slowly raised her head. Tears filled her eyes. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Guilty." Courtroom exploded with laughter and angry voices. "Liar, monster, lock her up." The judge struck his gavel. "Order." Emma closed her eyes. She had expected this. For 2 years, no one had believed her, not even the people she loved then. The judge noticed the small wooden box she refused to let go. "What are you holding?" Emma looked at the box for several seconds. Then she whispered, "The only thing that can prove I never stole a single dollar." Courtroom fell silent, but before anyone could ask another question, the prosecutor smiled. "Your Honor, that box was already examined. Contains nothing important." Emma slowly looked at him. For the first time, there was no fear in her eyes, only sadness. She quietly said one sentence, "You never opened the hidden compartment." Prosecutor's face instantly turned pale. The prosecutor's face instantly turned pale. For a brief moment, no one noticed, but Judge William Brooks did. He leaned forward. "What hidden compartment?" Emma slowly placed the wooden box on the evidence table. "My father made this box 23 years ago. Was a carpenter, loved puzzles, built one secret inside it." Prosecutor quickly interrupted. "Your Honor, this is nothing but another attempt to delay the trial." Emma didn't even look at him. Instead, she gently pressed one corner of the box. A quiet click echoed through the courtroom. Everyone froze. The bottom of the box slowly slid open. A small sealed envelope appeared. The courtroom became completely silent. The judge frowned. "Was this discovered during the investigation?" The lead detective stood up. "No, Your Honor, never found a hidden compartment." Judge looked toward the prosecutor. "Did your office know about this?" The prosecutor hesitated, then answered no, but his voice no longer sounded confident. Judge Brooks carefully opened the envelope. Inside, there was only one photograph. He looked at it. His expression changed. "What is this?" Emma's hands trembled. "My father told me, if anything ever happened to him, I must never destroy that photograph." Prosecutor laughed nervously. "A photograph proves nothing." Emma slowly looked at him. "It proves who was standing beside the charity vault. The night $15 million disappeared." The room exploded with whispers. Judge Brooks raised the photograph. "Who is this man?" Emma closed her eyes. "I don't know his name. I know one thing. My father was terrified of him." Prosecutor suddenly stood up. "Objection. This witness is making assumptions." Judge Brooks looked at him. "Sit down." Prosecutor slowly sat back in his chair for the first time since the trial began. He looked worried. Judge Brooks examined the photograph again. Then he noticed something written on the back. In faded blue ink were 6 words, asterisk asterisk, "If I disappear, trust no one, asterisk asterisk." The judge looked directly at Emma. "Who wrote this?" A tear rolled down her cheek. "My father." Courtroom fell silent. Then, the courtroom doors suddenly opened. A gray-haired man rushed inside. He was out of breath. He looked directly at the judge. "Honor, I know who stole the $15 million. Every person in the courtroom turned toward him. Then he said the one name no one expected. The courtroom doors slowly closed behind the gray-haired man. Everyone stared at him. Journalists immediately raised their cameras. Judge William Brooks spoke first. "Identify yourself." Man took a deep breath. "My name is Thomas Reed. I worked for the Carter Foundation for 27 years. Prosecutor frowned. "You were never listed as a witness." Thomas nodded. "Because no one ever asked me." Courtroom became silent. Judge Brooks leaned forward. You said you know who stole the $15 million. Thomas looked at Emma, then back at the judge. I know who ordered it. Gasps echoed across the courtroom. The prosecutor immediately stood. Objection. This witness has no evidence. Thomas slowly reached into his jacket. I brought evidence. He placed an old flash drive on the evidence table. Protected this for 2 years. The prosecutor's face tightened. What's on it? Thomas answered quietly. Security backup. Emma's heart nearly stopped. Cheek cameras. Thomas nodded. They told everyone the cameras failed. They lied. Courtroom exploded with whispers. Judge Brooks raised his gavel. Continued. The original recordings were never destroyed. I copied them before someone erased the system. Judge looked toward the prosecutor. Did your office know another backup existed? The prosecutor hesitated. Quietly answered no, but nobody believed him anymore. Judge Brooks handed the flash drive to the court technician. Play the recording. Lights dimmed. The courtroom screen came alive. Everyone held their breath. The video showed the charity vault. The date matched the night $15 million disappeared. Then, a man walked into the room. He wore a black coat, a baseball cap. His face was hidden. The courtroom became silent. Emma closed her eyes. This is the first time I've seen it. Man entered the vault. He typed the correct security code. The vault door opened. Judge Brooks frowned. He knew the code. Thomas nodded. Only 4 people knew that code. Man filled 2 black bags with cash. Then, just before leaving, he looked directly toward the security camera for 1 second. His face became visible. The courtroom gasped. The prosecutor's hands began to shake. Emma covered her mouth. Judge Brooks whispered, "My God," because the man on the screen was someone sitting inside the courtroom. The courtroom froze. No one moved. No one even breathed. Every pair of eyes turned toward the giant courtroom screen. The man who had emptied the charity vault was sitting inside the courtroom. Judge William Brooks slowly stood. His voice was calm, but filled with disbelief. Bailiffs, lock every exit. Within seconds, court officers rushed to every door. The prosecutor suddenly stood. Your Honor, there must be some mistake. Judge Brooks looked at him. A mistake, he pointed toward the screen. That video was recorded 2 years ago. It wasn't created yesterday. Prosecutor swallowed. His confidence was disappearing. Thomas Reed slowly walked toward the screen. I watched this recording more than 100 times. I prayed someone would finally see the truth. Emma couldn't stop staring at the man on the screen for 2 years. She had blamed herself for 2 years. The world had called her a criminal. Now, everything was beginning to change. Judge Brooks looked at the court technician. Freeze the image. Screen stopped. The man's face became perfectly clear. Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Several reporters immediately recognized him. One journalist whispered, "That's impossible." Another replied, "Can't be." The courtroom doors were suddenly locked from the outside. No one could leave. Judge Brooks slowly looked across the room. Then his eyes stopped on one person, a wealthy businessman sitting in the front row. He wasn't a lawyer. He wasn't a witness. He wasn't even listed among today's visitors. Yet, the moment his face appeared on the screen, he quietly stood up and began walking toward the exit. Bailiffs. Judge Brooks' voice echoed through the courtroom. Stop that man. 2 officers rushed forward. The businessman suddenly ran. People screamed. Chairs fell over. One officer grabbed his arm. Another blocked the doorway. Within seconds, he was handcuffed. The courtroom watched in complete silence. Judge Brooks looked directly at him. State your name. Man smiled for the first time. He spoke. My name won't help you. Emma looked at him. Never seen you before. Man turned toward her. His smile disappeared. Then he quietly said, No, I knew your father. Emma's heart stopped. The entire courtroom fell silent because no one had mentioned her father in over 20 years. The courtroom was completely silent. Emma Carter couldn't move. The handcuffed man looked directly into her eyes. I knew your father. Those 4 words echoed through the room. Emma whispered, My father died 23 years ago. Man slowly smiled. That's what they wanted you to believe. Gasps spread across the courtroom. Judge William Brooks immediately struck his gavel. Order, he looked at the prisoner. You will answer every question truthfully. Man leaned back in his chair. Waited a long time for this day. Emma stepped closer. Who are you? The man looked at her. My name is Richard Vaughan. I worked with your father. Thomas Reed suddenly turned pale. No, it can't be. Richard slowly nodded. You remember me? Thomas whispered. I thought you disappeared. Richard laughed bitterly. No, I was hidden. Judge Brooks frowned. Explain yourself. Richard took a deep breath. 23 years ago, Emma's father discovered that millions of dollars were being stolen from charitable donations. Wanted to expose everyone involved. Emma felt tears filling her eyes. My father tried to stop them. Richard nodded. He collected documents, records, secret contracts, trusted only 2 people. Thomas closed his eyes, and one of them betrayed him. Richard looked toward Thomas. No, The betrayal came from someone much higher. Courtroom became silent again. Judge Brooks asked, "Who?" Richard slowly turned his head. His eyes stopped on the prosecutor. Emma's heart almost stopped. Richard quietly said, "His father." Prosecutor instantly stood. "That's a lie." Richard didn't raise his voice. "Your father ordered everything, destroyed the investigation, blamed Emma's father. When he died, they needed someone else to carry the blame." Emma whispered, "So, they chose me." Richard nodded slowly. "You were the only living member of your father's family. You became the easiest target." Courtroom erupted into shouting. Reporters rushed toward the exits. The judge struck his gavel again. "Order." Then, a young court officer hurried toward the judge. He handed him a sealed envelope. Judge Brooks looked confused. "Where did this come from?" The officer answered quietly. "It was delivered 5 minutes ago. There was no return address." Judge Brooks opened it. Inside, there was only one sentence. His face turned completely white. Emma whispered, "What does it say?" The judge looked at her. "Then read the words aloud. ***, your father never died." Courtroom fell into complete silence. No one spoke, no one moved. Judge William Brooks stared at the letter in his hands. His fingers began to tremble. Emma's voice was barely a whisper. "My father is alive." The judge slowly looked at her. "I don't know. Whoever sent this letter knows something." Prosecutor immediately stood. "Your Honor, this anonymous letter means nothing." Judge Brooks looked directly at him. "Perhaps, after everything we've seen today, I'm no longer ignoring evidence." Courtroom remained silent. Thomas Reed suddenly stepped forward. Seen that handwriting before, everyone turned toward him. Judge Brooks frowned. "Where?" Thomas swallowed. 23 years ago, the last time I saw Emma's father." Emma's heart raced. "What are you talking about?" Thomas closed his eyes. "The night before he disappeared. Handed me an envelope, said, 'If anything happens to me, don't let Emma stop searching.'" Tear rolled down Emma's cheek. "My father knew." Thomas nodded. "He knew someone wanted him dead." Richard Vaughan suddenly laughed, a tired, broken laugh. "You still don't understand." Courtroom looked at him. Richard slowly raised his head. "Emma's father didn't disappear because of the money. Disappeared because of a notebook." Judge Brooks frowned. "Notebook?" Richard nodded. "A black leather notebook. Contained every name, every payment, every person involved." Emma whispered, "Where is it?" Richard looked directly into her eyes. "I don't know. Your father trusted only one person to hide it." "Who?" Richard answered quietly. "Your mother." Courtroom gasped. Emma slowly shook her head. "My mother died when I was 8. Richard's expression changed. "No, that's what you were told." Emma felt the room spinning. "My mother is alive too." Before Richard could answer, the courtroom doors burst open. A woman rushed inside. She looked terrified. Her clothes were covered with dust. She could barely breathe. She shouted only one sentence. "Don't believe Richard Vaughan." Everyone turned toward her. She looked at Emma. Tears filled her eyes. And she whispered, "Emma, your mother." Courtroom fell into complete silence. Emma couldn't breathe. The woman standing at the entrance was crying. Dust covered her clothes. Her hands were shaking, but her eyes. Emma had seen those eyes before, not in a photograph. Not in a dream, in a memory she could never fully remember. The woman whispered again, "Emma, I'm your mother." Emma slowly stepped backward. "No, my mother died." Woman nodded through her tears. "I know that's what they told you." Emma looked toward Judge Brooks, then at Thomas, then at Richard Vaughan. No one spoke. The judge finally broke the silence. "Ma'am, state your name." Woman took a deep breath. "My name is Sarah Carter." Emma covered her mouth. Her knees nearly gave way. "My mother?" Sarah nodded. "Search for you every single day." Emma's voice trembled. "Why didn't you come back?" Sarah closed her eyes. "Because they told me, if I ever contacted you, they would kill you." Courtroom gasped. The prosecutor immediately stood. "This is another lie." Judge Brooks slammed his gavel down for the first time. The prosecutor obeyed without another word. Sarah slowly walked toward Emma. She stopped only a few feet away. "I wanted to hold you. I wanted to watch you grow up. I wanted to tell you the truth." Tears streamed down Emma's face. "Then why didn't you?" Sarah reached into her coat. She removed a small silver necklace, a heart-shaped pendant, broken perfectly in half. Emma froze around her own neck. She had worn the other half since she was a little girl. Without saying a word, she removed it. The two pieces fit together perfectly. The courtroom watched in complete silence. Sarah whispered, "Your father made these. Kept one half. Kept one. You wore the third piece." Emma collapsed into tears. For 23 years, she believed she had no family. Now, everything she believed was falling apart. Then, Judge Brooks looked toward the courtroom doors. 3 black SUVs had just stopped outside. Dozens of federal agents rushed toward the courthouse. One of the agents ran inside. He looked directly at the judge. "Your Honor, we've just received an emergency warrant." Judge Brooks frowned. "What?" Agent's face turned pale. "Located Emma Carter's father." The entire courtroom froze. "He's not alone." They're holding him hostage. Federal agents rushed into the courtroom. The lead agent walked straight toward Judge William Brooks. He placed a sealed folder on the judge's desk. Your Honor, we've confirmed the information. Judge Brooks looked at him. You found Emma Carter's father? The agent nodded. Yes. We were too late. Courtroom became silent. Emma's heart pounded. What do you mean? Agent took a deep breath. For 23 years, he wasn't hiding, was being held. Gasps echoed throughout the courtroom. Emma couldn't believe what she had just heard. My father was kidnapped? The agent nodded. He was moved from one secret location to another. They wanted to make sure he could never testify. Sarah Carter burst into tears. I knew he would never abandon us. Emma grabbed her mother's hand. Where is he now? The agent looked down. We rescued him this morning. Emma smiled through her tears. Then where is he? The agent remained silent. Judge Brooks noticed. Answer her. Agent finally spoke. He's alive, but he's in critical condition. Emma felt her knees weaken. The courtroom spun around her. No, the agent continued. He asked for only one thing before losing consciousness. Emma whispered, what? The agent opened another envelope. Inside was a single handwritten letter. It was addressed to Emma. Judge Brooks carefully handed it to her. Emma's hands trembled as she unfolded the paper. The first line broke her heart. Asterisk, my beautiful daughter. Asterisk, tears rolled down her face before she could continue reading. The courtroom watched in complete silence. Emma kept reading. Asterisk, if you're reading this, means I couldn't protect you. Asterisk, asterisk, I'm sorry. Asterisk, she covered her mouth. Every person in the courtroom had tears in their eyes. Then she reached the final sentence. Her face suddenly changed. Judge Brooks noticed immediately. Emma. What did he write? Emma slowly looked up. Her voice trembled. He says, the real mastermind is sitting inside this courtroom. Every head turned. No one knew who Emma was about to name. The courtroom became so quiet that even the sound of Emma's breathing could be heard. She held her father's letter with trembling hands. Every eye in the courtroom was fixed on her. Judge William Brooks spoke softly. Emma, is your father talking about? Emma looked down at the final paragraph. She read it again, and again her face turned pale. Finally, she whispered, he wrote, don't trust the man who keeps asking the questions. The courtroom looked confused. The prosecutor frowned. What does that even mean? Emma slowly raised her eyes. She wasn't looking at the prosecutor. She was looking at Judge Brooks. The entire courtroom gasped. The judge himself looked shocked. Ms. Carter, you accusing this court? Emma quickly shook her head. No, my father didn't write. Don't trust the judge. He wrote, don't trust the man who keeps asking the questions. Judge Brooks suddenly realized something. His eyes slowly moved toward the lead detective, Detective Alan Pierce. From the very beginning of the investigation, he had asked every question, he interviewed every witness, collected every piece of evidence, controlled every report. The detective stood frozen. Then he slowly smiled. Not the smile of an innocent man, the smile of someone who had been hiding the truth for years. Court officers immediately reached for their weapons. Detective Alan Pierce stepped away from the table. Instead, he laughed. 2 years. You all believed exactly what I wanted. Emma stared at him. You framed me? Alan nodded. You were the perfect suspect, the lonely daughter, only surviving member of the Carter family. No one would question it. Thomas Reed clenched his fists. You destroyed dozens of innocent lives. Alan looked at him calmly. I protected people much more powerful than you can imagine. Judge Brooks slammed his gavel. Arrest him immediately. But before anyone could reach him, Alan pulled a small remote from his pocket. He pressed one button. Every light inside the courtroom instantly went out. People screamed. Darkness filled the room. Then, one gunshot echoed through the courthouse. When the emergency lights finally turned on, Detective Alan Pierce had disappeared. Only one thing remained on the floor. Emma's father's black leather notebook, still locked, still unopened, and someone had written one sentence across the cover. Asterisk, asterisk, the truth is inside. Emergency lights flickered. The courtroom was in chaos. Court officers searched every corner, every hallway, every exit, but Detective Alan Pierce was gone. It was as if he had vanished into thin air. Judge William Brooks slowly walked toward the black leather notebook lying on the courtroom floor. No one touched it. No one spoke. The judge carefully picked it up. On the cover, written in faded silver ink, were 5 words. If I never return, open this. Emma stared at the notebook. Her hands trembled. My father? Judge Brooks nodded. I believe this belongs to you. Emma slowly reached for it. The leather felt old, worn, as if someone had carried it for decades. She carefully opened the first page. Inside, there were names, dozens of names, politicians, business executives, lawyers, bank directors. Each name was connected by handwritten notes, payments, dates, secret meetings. The courtroom gasped. Thomas Reed whispered. He documented everything. Emma continued turning the pages, then one page made her stop. There was a family photograph, her father, her mother, and herself. As a little girl, someone had drawn a red circle around the picture. Judge Brooks frowned. Why would anyone mark this? Emma turned the page. Behind the photograph, a folded letter slipped onto the floor. She picked it up. It wasn't written by her father. It was signed by someone else. She unfolded it. The first sentence made her freeze. Asterisk, Emma, you're reading this. Means your father trusted you more than he trusted me. Asterisk, she looked at the signature. Her heartbeat stopped. Judge Brooks quietly asked, who wrote it? Emma's voice shook. My uncle. Thomas Reed looked confused. You told us you never had an uncle. Emma slowly nodded. Because my parents told me he died before I was born. Courtroom became silent. Judge Brooks looked at the letter again. So, your uncle is alive, Emma slowly whispered. I think he's the only person who knows how this story really ends. At that exact moment, a courthouse officer rushed inside. You found Detective Alan Pierce's abandoned car. Judge Brooks stood. Was he inside? The officer slowly shook his head. No, someone left another message. What does it say? Officer looked directly at Emma. It says, find your uncle before they do. The courtroom remained silent. Emma Carter couldn't stop staring at the message. Find your uncle before they do. She looked at Judge William Brooks. My uncle, never even met him. Judge Brooks folded the letter. Then someone spent 23 years making sure you never would. Federal agents entered the courtroom. Their commander walked toward the judge. We've searched Detective Pierce's car. What did you find? The commander placed several items on the evidence table. A burner phone, a fake passport, several $1,000s in cash, and an old city map. Emma stepped closer. There are markings. Commander nodded. 7 locations. Thomas Reed suddenly froze. No, this map. Everyone looked at him. My God, Judge Brooks frowned. What is it? Thomas pointed to one of the red circles. 23 years ago, the Carter Foundation owned a warehouse here. Emma whispered, the warehouse where my father kept old charity records. Thomas nodded. After he disappeared, the building was abandoned. Judge Brooks looked at the federal agents. Send a team immediately. Commander shook his head. We already did. They found something. Emma held her breath. What? The commander slowly opened a photograph. It showed an underground room covered in dust. Inside were dozens of locked filing cabinets and one chair bolted to the floor. Emma covered her mouth. Oh my God. The commander spoke quietly. We believe your father was held there. Courtroom fell silent. Then another agent rushed inside. Sir, the commander turned. What happened? We found fingerprints. Emma looked up. My father's? The agent slowly shook his head. No, they belong to another member of the Carter family. Emma's heart pounded. My uncle, the agent nodded. And according to the lab, they're less than 48 hours old. Courtroom gasped. Judge Brooks stood. That means he's still alive. Emma looked toward the courtroom doors. For the first time in 23 years, she wasn't chasing a memory, she was chasing someone who had been hiding in the shadows all along. But she had no idea that her uncle was already watching the trial from inside the courthouse. The courtroom slowly emptied. Federal agents rushed through every hallway. Reporters crowded outside the building. Everyone wanted answers, but Emma Carter stood completely still. Her eyes remained fixed on one sentence. Find your uncle before they do. Judge William Brooks walked toward her. Emma, I think it's time you knew the truth. Emma looked at him. What truth? The judge opened the old leather notebook again. Between 2 worn pages, he discovered a folded birth certificate. It wasn't Emma's. The name shocked everyone. **, Nathan Carter, **, date of birth. 26 years before Emma. Emma whispered, Nathan, my uncle. Judge Brooks nodded. He legally disappeared 23 years ago. Thomas Reed slowly sat down. Remember him? Worked beside your father. Was brilliant. Handled every financial record inside the Carter Foundation. Emma looked confused. Then why did everyone tell me he died? Thomas answered quietly, because someone erased him. Courtroom became silent. Judge Brooks frowned. Erased? Thomas nodded. His records disappeared. Photographs disappeared. Even his school history disappeared. Emma couldn't believe it. They erased an entire person. Thomas looked at her. They wanted the world to forget he ever existed. Just then, a federal agent rushed inside. Your Honor, Judge Brooks turned. What happened? We searched the abandoned warehouse again, and the agent held up a dusty cardboard box. We found this hidden behind a false wall. Emma stepped closer. Inside the box were dozens of family photographs, old birthday cards, letters, and one videotape. Across the tape, someone had, Emma, only when you are ready, **. Emma's hands began to shake. My father? The agent slowly shook his head. No, it wasn't written by your father. Emma looked at the handwriting. She had never seen it before. Then who? The agent answered quietly. Nathan Carter. My uncle. Judge Brooks carefully picked up the tape. if Nathan recorded this. Wanted you to know something, Emma whispered. Play it. Courtroom lights dimmed. The old videotape began rolling. Static filled the screen. Then, a man's face slowly appeared. He looked directly into the camera. Tears filled Emma's eyes. She had never met him, but somehow, she immediately knew this was her uncle. He looked into the camera and quietly said, Emma, if you're watching this, it means I'm already running out of time. Courtroom remained completely silent. The old videotape continued to play. Nathan Carter looked directly into the camera. His face was tired. His eyes revealed years of fear, but his voice remained calm. Emma, if you're watching this, it means I couldn't protect your father. A tear rolled down Emma's cheek. Nathan continued, your father never stole a single dollar, spent years trying to expose the people who stole from sick children, trusted the law, trusted the courts. He trusted the people closest to him. Nathan lowered his head. That was his biggest mistake. Courtroom listened in complete silence. Judge Brooks didn't move. Thomas Reed closed his eyes. Nathan looked back into the camera. There were never just one or two people. There was an entire network. Powerful people, people with money. No one would ever suspect. Emma whispered, my father was telling the truth. Nathan continued, they knew your father had collected evidence. So they destroyed his reputation. They separated our family. They wanted everyone to believe we were criminals. Emma covered her mouth. Nathan slowly reached into his jacket. He held up a silver key. If you're seeing this, then this key must still exist. Courtroom became quiet again. Nathan smiled sadly. Your father hid the final evidence. In a bank, in a safe, in the only place they would never search. Judge Brooks leaned forward. Where? Nathan answered with one sentence. Inside Jefferson Memorial Library. Everyone looked confused. Nathan nodded. Row 18, shelf C, book number 47. The title is, before he could finish, the videotape suddenly filled with static. The picture disappeared. The screen went black. Emma stood up. No. The courtroom technician tried to restart the tape. Nothing. The recording had ended then. A small piece of paper fell from inside the videotape case. Judge Brooks carefully picked it up. Only one sentence was written on it. Asterisk, don't go to the library alone. That exact moment, every phone inside the courtroom vibrated. Judge, agents, lawyers, journalists, everyone had received the same anonymous message, asterisk, they're already waiting for Emma. Asterisk, the courtroom erupted into chaos. Phones continued vibrating. The anonymous message remained on every screen, asterisk, they're already waiting for Emma. Asterisk, Judge William Brooks looked at the federal agents. No one leaves this courthouse alone. Lead agent immediately nodded, seal every entrance. Within seconds, armed officers surrounded the building. Emma stood frozen. Her hands were still holding Nathan's videotape. She whispered, they know every move we make. Thomas Reed slowly walked toward her, known for 23 years. Emma looked at him. Who are they? Thomas took a deep breath. I don't know every name. I know one thing. They're richer than anyone imagined. They own companies. They fund political campaigns. They even donated money to the Carter Foundation. Judge Brooks listened carefully. So the charity itself, Thomas nodded, was being used to hide the theft. Room fell silent. Suddenly, one federal agent received a phone call. His face immediately changed. He looked at the judge. Have a problem. Happened. The Jefferson Memorial Library. Judge Brooks stepped closer. Speak. The agent swallowed. It caught fire. Emma's heart stopped. No. Judge Brooks immediately asked, was anyone inside? The agent answered quietly. Firefighters are still searching. Emma whispered, the evidence. Thomas suddenly shook his head. No. Emma looked confused. What do you mean? Thomas smiled for the first time. Your father was too smart. Knew they would destroy the library if they discovered the truth. Judge Brooks frowned. Then why mention it in the video? Thomas reached into his pocket. He slowly removed an old library card, yellow, faded, worn by time. This wasn't telling us where the evidence is. It was telling us where to find the next clue. Emma looked closely at the card. There was a number written in blue ink. Asterisk 18C47 asterisk. Then, she turned it over on the back. Someone had written one sentence in her father's handwriting, asterisk Emma, the librarian, asterisk before anyone could react. The courtroom lights suddenly went out again. Darkness covered the entire building. A calm male voice echoed through the speakers. Emma Carter, stop looking for the truth, or you'll lose the only family you have left. Then, a single gunshot echoed from somewhere inside the courthouse. Darkness covered the entire courthouse. The gunshot echoed through every hallway for several seconds. No one moved, no one spoke. Then the emergency lights flickered back on. Federal agents immediately drew their weapons. Protect Emma. Judge William Brooks stepped in front of her. Stay behind me. Emma's heart was racing. Who fired the shot? A voice came from the hallway. It wasn't meant for her. Everyone turned. A young federal agent was helping an injured courthouse security officer. The bullet had struck his shoulder. "He'll survive," the agent shouted. But someone escaped through the west corridor. The lead federal agent immediately gave the order. Locked down the entire courthouse. Within seconds, every exit was sealed, every hallway filled with officers, but the attacker had disappeared. Meanwhile, Thomas Reed slowly bent down. Something shiny was lying on the courtroom floor. It hadn't been there before the lights went out. He picked it up. A small silver flash drive. Emma looked at it. "Where did that come from?" Thomas shook his head. "It wasn't here 5 minutes ago." Judge Brooks carefully took the flash drive. Attached to it was a handwritten note, only 4 words, ***, play this alone. ***, the judge frowned. "No, all watch it together." The court technician connected the flash drive. The screen came alive, static then. A hidden surveillance recording appeared, not from the charity, not from the courthouse. It showed a private meeting room, the date. 23 years earlier. Emma stared at the screen. Her father was sitting at the table. Across from him sat 5 people. Their faces were hidden by shadows. One voice spoke. "You have 2 choices, us or disappear forever." Emma's father answered without hesitation. "I would rather lose everything than steal from children." The room became silent. Then another voice replied, "Then your daughter will pay the price." Emma covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. "They planned everything," Thomas whispered, "for 23 years. Recording continued. One of the people stood up for just 1 second. His face became visible. Judge Brooks froze. "Know him?" Emma looked at the screen. "Who is he?" the judge slowly whispered. "He isn't just a businessman. He's one of the most powerful men in the country." Before anyone could say another word, every computer screen inside the courthouse suddenly turned black. Then a single sentence: "The trial, or Emma's father dies tonight." ***, the entire courtroom stood frozen. Every monitor displayed the same message: ***, stop the trial, or Emma's father dies tonight. ***, no one spoke. The silence felt heavier than ever before. Emma's hands began to shake. "My father." Judge William Brooks looked at the federal agents. "Trace the message." Within seconds, 3 agents rushed to the courthouse's control room. The courtroom waited. Seconds felt like hours. Finally, one of the agents returned. His face was pale. "We traced it." Judge Brooks stood. Agent answered quietly. Inside this courthouse, room erupted with whispers. Thomas Reed looked around. Here, Emma slowly turned toward the courtroom doors. Every stranger suddenly looked suspicious. Every face, a possible enemy. Then, the courtroom lights flickered again. A television mounted high on the wall switched on by itself. A man appeared on the screen. His face remained hidden in darkness. Only his voice could be heard. "Emma Carter, you've spent 23 years searching for the truth. You should have stopped." Emma stared at the screen. "Where is my father?" The man ignored the question. "Your father refused to obey, so we erased your family." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "You stole my childhood. You stole my mother. You stole my life." Man answered coldly. "No, protected something far more valuable." Judge Brooks interrupted. "What are you protecting?" The man laughed. "Power." The word echoed through the courtroom. $15 million. That was only the beginning. Thomas Reed whispered, "My God." The man continued. 23 years. We've stolen hundreds of millions from charities, hospitals, families who trusted us." Courtroom became completely silent. Emma couldn't believe what she was hearing then. The man looked directly into the camera. "Emma, make you one offer. Leave this courthouse. Burn your father's notebook. Destroy every piece of evidence. You'll see him alive." Emma closed her eyes. She remembered every lie, every lonely birthday, every newspaper calling her a criminal, every tear her mother had cried. Then she slowly looked back at the screen. Her voice was calm. "You took 23 years from my family. You made innocent people suffer. You thought fear would stop me." She took a deep breath. "It won't." The mysterious man became silent. Emma held up the black leather notebook. "I will finish what my father started." Screens suddenly went black. A loud explosion echoed somewhere beneath the courthouse. The floor shook violently. People screamed. Dust fell from the ceiling. A federal agent ran into the courtroom. "Your Honor," Judge Brooks turned. "What happened?" The agent's voice trembled. "They've destroyed the underground evidence room." And Emma's father was inside. Explosion shook the entire courthouse. Pieces of concrete crashed onto the floor. Smoke filled the hallways. People screamed. Federal agents rushed toward the underground level. Emma couldn't breathe. "My father." She tried to run. 2 agents stopped her. "It's too dangerous," Emma struggled. "He needs me." Judge William Brooks placed a hand on her shoulder. "We'll bring him back." Minutes passed. Each second felt like an hour. Finally, the lead rescue officer emerged from the smoke. His uniform was covered in dust. His face revealed nothing. Emma whispered, "Tell me." The officer looked directly at her. We found him. Emma burst into tears. Is he alive? The officer nodded slowly. Yes. He refused to leave. Courtroom fell silent. Judge Brooks frowned. What do you mean? Officer held up a small metal case. He said this was more important than his own life. Emma looked at the case. She recognized it immediately. Evidence? The officer nodded. He protected it until the very last second. Federal agents carefully opened the case. Inside were hundreds of original financial records, signed contracts, secret bank transfers, photographs, voice recordings, every crime, every payment, every name. Thomas Reed stared at the documents. My God, this is everything. Judge Brooks slowly turned the pages, then he stopped. There was one final document at the bottom. Every member of the criminal network had signed it. Business leaders, government officials, bank executives, and one final signature. Judge Brooks looked at it. His face turned white. Emma noticed. What is it? The judge slowly raised the document. Never imagined. Emma stepped closer. Who signed it? The judge answered quietly. Attorney General. Courtroom exploded with shock. Reporters immediately began calling their newsrooms. Federal agents looked at one another in disbelief. Thomas whispered. They reached the highest level. Just then, a helicopter was heard above the courthouse. Everyone looked toward the shattered ceiling. A rope dropped from the sky. Someone was trying to escape. But who? The helicopter hovered above the courthouse. The deafening sound of its blades echoed through the shattered ceiling. A thick rope swayed in the air. Someone was climbing toward it. Stop him, Judge William Brooks shouted. Federal agents rushed outside. Emma followed behind them. For the first time, she saw the man clearly. He wasn't Detective Alan Pierce. He wasn't Richard Vaughan. It was someone no one had ever suspected. The chairman of the Carter Foundation, Benjamin Lawson, the man who had spent 20 years appearing on television as the face of hope, the man who smiled beside sick children, the man everyone called a hero. Benjamin looked down at Emma. He smiled. You were never supposed to find the truth. Emma's voice trembled. You stole from dying children. Benjamin laughed. Stole much more than money. I stole people's trust. Helicopter began lifting him into the air. Federal agents opened fire at the engine. The pilot turned sharply. The helicopter lost balance. Benjamin lost his grip. He fell onto the courthouse roof. Agents surrounded him within seconds. He raised both hands. It's over. Judge Brooks walked toward him. No, it's only beginning. Benjamin looked at Emma. You still don't understand. Emma frowned, smiled. I wasn't the leader. Entire crowd fell silent. Thomas Reed stepped forward. What are you talking about? Benjamin looked at the sky. I worked for someone. Real mastermind. Never attended meetings. Never signed documents. Never touched the money. Emma whispered. Who is it? Benjamin slowly laughed. Already met him. Emma's heart pounded. Who? Benjamin looked directly into Judge Brooks' eyes, then quietly said, the person you're looking for has been helping you since the first day of this trial. Courthouse became completely silent. Every person turned toward Judge Brooks. Even the federal agents froze. Emma couldn't breathe. Was Benjamin telling the truth, or was this one final lie before everything ended? The courthouse remained silent. Benjamin Lawson's final words echoed through everyone's mind. Person you're looking for has been helping you since the first day of this trial. Every pair of eyes turned toward Judge William Brooks. Emma couldn't breathe. No, it can't be. Judge Brooks slowly looked at Benjamin, trying to confuse this investigation. Benjamin smiled. Am I? You've believed every piece of evidence so far. Stop now. Federal agents immediately surrounded the judge. The lead agent stepped forward. Honor, until we verify these claims. Need everyone to remain where they are. Judge Brooks nodded calmly. I understand. Emma looked into his eyes. She saw no fear, only sadness. Then, Judge Brooks quietly reached into the inside pocket of his jacket. The courtroom tensed. Several agents raised their weapons. Move. Instead of pulling out a weapon, the judge removed an old photograph. He handed it to Emma. She looked at it. Her hands began to tremble. The picture showed her father, Nathan Carter, and a much younger William Brooks, standing together, smiling. Emma looked up. You knew my father? Judge Brooks slowly nodded. For 30 years. Courtroom gasped. Benjamin laughed loudly. I told you, the truth always hurts. Judge Brooks ignored him. He looked directly at Emma. Your father was my best friend. Silence filled the courthouse. Emma whispered, then why didn't you tell me? The judge closed his eyes. Because your father made me promise, said, if anything happens to me, Emma, tears rolled down Emma's face, been protecting me. All this time, Judge Brooks nodded, the day you were left alone. I watched every court file, every investigation, kept dangerous evidence hidden, until the right moment. Benjamin's smile disappeared. He suddenly realized his plan had failed. Judge Brooks slowly walked toward him. You thought I was helping you. Benjamin remained silent. The judge continued. But every delay, every question, every hearing, giving federal agents more time to uncover your entire organization. Lead federal agent smiled. He stepped forward holding a folder. It's over. We've arrested every remaining member of the network. Benjamin looked shocked. That's impossible. Agent opened the folder. 112 arrests, 43 search warrants, then $300 million recovered. Courthouse erupted into applause. Emma looked at Judge Brooks. You kept your promise. The judge smiled gently. I promised your father that one day the truth would finally win. But before anyone could celebrate, a doctor rushed into the courthouse. He looked directly at Emma. Miss Carter, your father has opened his eyes. The first word he spoke was your name. Emma Carter ran through the hospital corridor. Her heart was beating so hard she could barely breathe. 23 years, 23 birthdays, 23 Christmas mornings. She had believed her father was dead. Now he was only a few steps away. The hospital room door slowly opened. An older man lay quietly in the bed. His face carried the weight of 23 lost years. His hair had turned gray. His body was weak. But when he heard the footsteps, he slowly opened his eyes. His lips trembled. Emma burst into tears. She ran to his bedside. She took his hand. Dad, I thought I'd lost you forever. Tears rolled down his face. I'm sorry. I promised I would come back. I just couldn't. Emma shook her head. You never abandoned me. They stole you from me. Her father nodded. They tried to destroy our family. They never destroyed the truth. Several weeks later, the trial reached its final day. The courtroom was full again this time. No one called Emma a criminal. No one looked at her with hatred. They stood as she entered. Judge William Brooks looked across the room. The jury has reached its verdict. Courtroom became silent. The four persons stood. On all charges against Emma Carter, find the defendant guilty. Applause erupted. Many people were crying. Emma closed her eyes. The nightmare was finally over. Judge Brooks continued. Court also orders the seizure of every asset connected to the criminal network. All recovered money be returned to the children's charity. Courtroom stood and applauded again. Months later, the Carter Foundation reopened. This time, under new leadership, Emma refused to become its president. Instead, she created something new, the Michael and Sarah Carter Children's Hope Fund, named after her parents. Its promise was simple. Every dollar would reach the children who needed it. No secrets, no corruption, only hope. One quiet afternoon, Emma stood beside her father outside the foundation. Children were laughing in the garden. Her father smiled. You know, they stole 23 years from us. Emma nodded. They did. They didn't steal tomorrow. Her father looked at her proudly. No, they didn't. Emma looked toward the children, then quietly said, the truth may disappear for a while. As long as one person has the courage to protect it, it always finds its way home. Camera slowly pulled away. The Carter Foundation was filled with laughter once again, not because justice erased the pain, but because hope was stronger than fear. ***, the end.